I'm out here today to install a hydraulic thumb on this mini excavator. It had a manual thumb on it when I got it. That's what these connectors here are for. So the hydraulic thumb that I got bolts right up into this. So this is the hydraulic thumb that I ordered. It's by TYPHON, and I'll put a link to that down in the description. But this is supposed to directly bolt up to the dipper on my type of excavator, the one that has the holes and everything like you just saw. This one should come with everything that you need. It's got the hoses in here, it's got the adapters, the bolt pins, just everything that you need to adapt this to your excavator if you've got the same type of dipper that I have on mine. So this is the set of adapters it comes with. There's 4 of these. This one says M16 on this side, and this other side is M14. So it's an M16 to M14 adapter. This should be what you need to go from your existing hoses to the new hoses on the hydraulic thumb. So this is where I'm going to be hooking up the hydraulic hoses for the hydraulic thumb. You're going to have to take off this cap and this adapter and install the other adapter that comes with the hydraulic thumb. So I've got the caps and adapters off, and as you can see here, there's this O-ring here. We're going to have to put this other adapter on instead of this adapter, so that way we can hook it up to the hoses that it came with. And here's the other adapter installed. This is again the one that came with it, and this is the hose here that it came with, so that's the adapter you got to use. You can't use the one that was already on here because it's too big. We're going from a bigger hose to a smaller hose. So next is to put this adapter in right here. It comes with the bolts and everything that you need, so I just put the bolts in it and have it on here. I don't have it tightened down, but we're going to have the hydraulic cylinder connected to that, and I'm not tightening down that either because, you know, once we're done, I'll tighten everything nice and tight. But until then, I'm going to leave it hand tight, and we're going to get this all put in. So now I have this part of the thumb put in, this lower portion, and then just make sure, you know, the teeth and everything are facing the bucket when you put it on there, because that's the direction it needs to be put in. And then you've got your cylinder here, and it also can spin around, so make sure you've got the hoses for this also facing the right direction. You don't want it facing like this because then your hoses are going toward your boom. You want to actually spin it around and have it where the hoses are facing the dipper stick, so that way when you're moving it back and forth, your hoses are just near the dipper stick and not sticking out and get caught on anything that you're maybe carrying. I'm going to spin this bolt around too because I want all the bolt heads in the same direction. I'm just going to take that out. But again, make sure that this is spun in the right direction when you bolt it up, because you don't want that sticking out somewhere that it shouldn't be. Alright, so I've got the hydraulic cylinder hooked up to the adapter that goes up on the dipper, and it's holding the thumb open. I did have to use persuasion here to get a couple of these bolts in because they just didn't want to go in really well, but they weren't hard to get in. It just, you know, was a little snug, so I had to tap those in. So now I'm ready to put the hoses on the cylinder, and as you can see here, there's hydraulic oil coming out. So before these caps were put on, these must have been hooked up and tested, so there is hydraulic oil in there. Just know that when you're going to put the hoses on the cylinder. So I do have the hoses now put on. I do want to make a note though too that the pipe where the hose connector is sticking out of the cylinder is not super strong, probably not even welded that well. So when you go to tighten up this bolt here, make sure you put something around this to hold that pipe well so you don't wrench it down too tight and bust it. Now there is an O-ring in there, so you don't have to tighten these things down real tight anyway, but you do have to make them snug. But just be careful because these just aren't really that strong. So now that it's hooked up, I did pull the cylinder down just to make sure that it had good clearance. It's very, very close right here, but it does not look like it will hit even when it's fully extended, so that's good. You don't want to scar this portion of your cylinder up right here. And I do a little bit worry about the gaps here. That way, you know, when you're using it, if it's going to move back and forth, so I may put something here to keep from scarring up this cylinder, but I'm going to keep an eye on it. But so far, in general, it looks like it's going to be fine, but I definitely want to keep an eye on this to make sure that this movement and everything doesn't scar up this cylinder. When I was talking about making sure the cylinder is in the right direction, this is what I mean here. It's pointing so that the hoses will come up around the top of your dipper and instead of pointing toward your boom. So these, I don't know if they're going to be in the way, but they seem like they're the appropriate size to stay on that side, so probably won't be an issue. So here I crank it up and try to move the thumb around, and it's moving fine. Cylinder, like I said, had hydraulic oil in it, so it moved right away and nice and smooth. I'm not having any problems with it hitting anywhere. Everything looks lined up pretty well. And this, of course, I'm going to keep an eye on, but overall it's working fine just the way it's installed, and no noises, no nothing. Everything sounds appropriate. So now I'm going to go test this thing out. So while I still have it here and cranked up, I want to check the clearance on the thumb. So up here on the top, the thumb comes up fine, doesn't hit the boom. It doesn't, get anywhere near hitting the boom. Actually, here you can stick your hand in there. But that's why they don't have a pipe right at the very end or something that pulls the end together, because then it would hit the boom. But, overall, no problem up here where the boom is. And that's why the pipe, again, is this far back. Everything else looks fine. Clearance up here looks fine. No issues. I was a little worried about this pipe here, but it doesn't seem to be leaking. Everything looks good here. So let's see how well it sits with the bucket. So if I curl the bucket all the way up and I have the thumb all the way back, there's still a good amount of clearance there. Nothing going to hit there. Even if you had a load of dirt, really shouldn't be an issue. So that looks good. I'm glad it folds back that far. And if I put the thumb down, that is how it hits the bucket. That little support bar there hits the tooth when, of course, the bucket's all the way curled and you try to move the thumb. But let's see how it works with the bucket further back and then moving the thumb. So I'm going to drop the thumb all the way down, and now I'm going to pull the bucket closer to it, and let's see how that clears. So real close, but it looks like it works, but it is still pretty close. The thumb is long enough to just barely grab the edge of the bucket, which should help from having the thumb go inside the bucket. You don't want your thumb going inside the bucket, because then accidentally you could tear that up. But in this perspective, it does push it out. I may end up welding up some tabs here at the end of the thumb teeth, so that way it has maybe an inch or two past the bucket, so that way I don't really have a chance of it getting stuck in the bucket and collapsing. Again, this is an AGT International H15, and this is me playing with a rock. Yep. I'm just testing out the thumb with this nifty rock. So the fact that it's a very simple install, you're talking $300 to $400 for a hydraulic thumb. You've already got the auxiliaries on most of these mini excavator. I mean, it's pretty much a no-brainer. If you're already okay with the quality of your excavator, you'll be fine with the quality of this thumb. I am going to be adding a 3-way ball valve here for the hydraulic to be a diverter, so I can move it one way and it will be the thumb, and then I can move it the other way and it will be the auxiliaries, like an auger or something, and I'm going to put quick connects on it. So that's it for now. If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel. I've got a list of things that I'm going to be doing to this mini excavator, mostly improvements and upgrades, things that probably should have been on this to start with but just wasn't. So if you would subscribe to the channel, watch out for those videos. And I hope this information for this was helpful. Thank you very much for watching, and y'all take care.